Joining us now is Brian Peterson from Bees in the D, back with us once again on the Oakland County MegaCast. Brian, thank you for being with us.
Oh, it's always fun to be with you, Tyler, and we thought we'd try something different and actually come out to our hives today.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You're out at your hives, and you're about to actually break ground on an entirely new pollinator center in Detroit. Can you tell us exactly what a pollinator center is? Is that just a set of hives? Is it something different?
No, it's actually the Michigan Pollinator Center, and it is going to be an actual education tutoring type center where there will be indoor space, but it is mainly focused on the outdoor space because we will have hives there. We'll have native bee hives. We'll have many different gardens with a lot of native plants to help with all of our different pollinators. So yes, we're set to break ground next month.
So why was this particular pollinator center in Detroit necessary? What ultimately was the rationale behind establishing this pollinator center? And then on top of that, why right in the city of Detroit?
So a couple of things. Bees in the D, which you know is a nonprofit, we've been now in existence. We're coming up to our 6th year. And it was our 10-year goal to form some kind of an education center because a lot of the misconceptions about bees and wasps and things like that, that was part of our mission to educate people. And so we made it a 10-year goal to come up with a center where people can come, schools can come, families can come to learn more about our pollinators, their importance, and a lot of their misconceptions. And here we are in year 6, accomplishing our 10-year goal thanks to so many wonderful supporters. And Detroit is the perfect place because they're realizing more and more that even in our urban environments, we can coexist with nature. And we're seeing that in Detroit as Detroit's becoming a real urban garden, urban beekeeper mecca. I mean, it really is putting a place on the map for Detroit in the natural world.
And so where will the actual pollinators be located at the Pollinator Center?
So the Pollinator Center is actually going to be located in Core City in Detroit, which is awesome because it's central to the city. It's not far from downtown, but yet it's out a little ways where there can be a little bit more greenery. And the pollinators themselves, the beehives, are actually going to be up on the roof. We're going to actually have a green roof center to help also educate about how we can create green roofs, which is not only better for nature, but it's also better for the building because it helps with conservation of energy and water absorption. And so that's where those pollinators are going to be located at the center.
And so you mentioned conservation of energy with the green roof and with the location of the pollinator itself at that location at the Pollinator Center in Detroit, in central Detroit, especially for major cities like Detroit. Pollution is almost inevitable in those cities, and it tends to be much more significant in major urban areas than it is in suburban areas, certainly than it is in rural areas, although pollution affects everywhere at any time in our society. So why does it then become so much more critical to encourage those green spaces in the city itself, especially on top of buildings, which does have a certain effect on reducing or mitigating at least the pollution in major cities?
Right. So obviously, when you talk pollution, you're talking a very wide range. I mean, we talk about air, we could talk about water, we could be talking about any kind of pollution, but that's one thing that we want to help bring notice to. And we want to help businesses, individuals, help homeowners find ways that they can coexist with nature to help in that area, to help with recycling, to help reduce our imprint that we put onto our earth. And so I think it's very important that we model this in even a place like a city, a large city.
We're joined by Brian Peterson, the founder of Bees in the D, joining us on the Oakland County MegaCast from out there at their actual Pollinator Center in Detroit.
And we're not, Tyler. No, just to let you know, I am not at our Pollinator Center. Okay. We're actually up north. I'm at Blake's, actually, where we do have some hives as well. I just wanted to get up here. I'm on my spring break. I think you know, Tyler, I'm a teacher, so I'm taking advantage of every minute I can get. And Mother Nature's not cooperating the best as I'm chipping away ice. And so I was hoping we could see some bees, but unfortunately they're in their winter cluster. But there is hope, Tyler. The sun is coming out. I see pussy willows growing behind me. So hopefully spring is right around the corner.
So more information is on the website, beesinthed.com, if you'd like to get involved, learn more about the Pollinator Center, or learn more about the science behind their operations in the city of Detroit and all throughout the state of Michigan. Beesinthed.com is their website. We're joined by the founder, Brian Peterson, from Bees in the D. And so when you think about the benefits of bees, we've heard so much over the last several years from across the board, from ecological advocates, certainly from your organization, as we've spoken to you numerous times on the MegaCast. But it's interesting because when you think about a major city like Detroit, when you think about a major metropolitan area like the Detroit metro area, you're not really often thinking about vast natural areas, especially in the urban center of Detroit. And so when you put bees in that environment, you're thinking about, okay, we're going to be helping the natural areas in the city. It kind of raises a little bit of a question mark because it's the city of Detroit. It's a major city. There's not exactly a whole lot of nature there. So how do these hives, how do these pollinator centers then ultimately do end up helping the environment in the city itself, even though it is a major urban area?
Wow, Tyler, there's so many things that you just unpacked there that I'm so glad you asked, because exactly what you said is what people assume. And that's why it was fun for me to be up at Blake's, where it is a much more rural environment, where our bees do really well, is because obviously there's apple trees and you would think a lot more resources. But that's the fun of Bees in the D. We are in rural areas, suburban areas, and of course in downtown urban areas. And actually, studies have now shown that bees, especially honeybees, and even our native pollinators, like many of the bumblebees, are doing better in urban environments. And a lot of people think, what? There's no space. But people don't realize there's a lot more green in urban areas, and actually, there's more diversity. And you have to really kind of unpack that a little bit, because the more you think about it, you're like, no, there's more diversity in the rural areas. Well, we've kind of created mono societies where there's acres and acres, miles and miles of corn or soybeans, which doesn't help with diversity. So actually, the urban areas are helping our pollinators to flourish. And here's the other part that's very important, and another reason we started Bees in the D, food security. There are so many urban gardens now that are popping up in the city, especially with vacant lots next door to homes. And our pollinators then can go in and pollinate, which then increases the produce or the production of those gardens, which then gives people healthy organic food to eat.
So we're going to talk about the bee population in the state of Michigan, because we know in the past that there's been a lot of worries, not just in Michigan, across the U.S. and really around the world, about diminishing bee populations. In the state of Michigan, what is the state of our bee population, and how does returning that to normal levels or to optimal levels in the state of Michigan ultimately provide a great benefit to Michigan, both environmentally and ecologically, but also to our economy?
Well, the good news is, Tyler, is very few, and really only one that could be in our area, the rusty patch bumblebee, are actually even listed on the endangered species list. But the bad news is, yes, our bees, our honeybees, the population is declining. Actually, the honeybees has been pretty consistent because of hobbyist beekeepers, and honeybees are a little bit different because they're more managed, like livestock. But the numbers of our native bees have been declining. And so by bringing attention to the importance of being, to put aside pesticides, to plant more natives in more pollinator-friendly plants, it helps all of our bees, all of our pollinators, our butterflies, everything. So hopefully we can help that trend from continuing to slide down by doing our part and helping out at home by planting some plants, using less pesticides.
We're joined by Bees in the D founder Brian Peterson on the Oakland County MegaCast. More information on the website, beesinthed.com. That's beesinthed.com. beesinthed.com. And so, as we mentioned, for those that are just tuning in, Bees in the D is about to break ground on a new pollinator in the city of Detroit, in the center of the city of Detroit. How has that pollinator been funded? Where did those funds come from to ultimately help Bees in the D establish this pollinator right in Detroit?
So Bees in the D is very fortunate that people can sense our passion and they understand the importance of this education that needs to happen and this conservation that needs to happen. So we are very fortunate to have donors that are helping to make this happen. And of course, we do a lot of fundraisers and a lot of events that also help bring in some funds to help with this project.
We're joined by Brian Peterson from Bees in the D on the Oakland County MegaCast. On your website, you have a listing for a Bees in the D intern. You're looking for some additional help with your organization, especially as you expand to other different ventures, such as this new pollinator, and expand all throughout the state of Michigan. What kind of applicants are you looking for, and what would be some of the duties that they would undertake as interns at Bees in the D?
Well, right now, the intern that we're looking for is more on the back end of things with the social media, with statistics, things like that, that we are really trying to ramp up a little bit. Because, I mean, that is where a lot of people go to learn more. And so that is an area that on the other side with the other Brian, because I think you know there's two Brians, he's kind of spearheading that. I kind of spearhead the bees in a lot of the education, being a teacher. But we're very excited that we continue to grow and bring in more people. We have so many amazing volunteers. We're looking forward to the warmer weather so that we can get our volunteers involved as well. And we have a lot of really fun events coming up, Tyler, so be watching for that as well.
Yeah, you do have a lot of really fun events coming up. Those are listed on their website, beesinthed.com. We're joined by Brian Peterson, founder of Bees in the D, on the Oakland County MegaCast. A couple months away, one of those events is the Beehive visit at the Cranes Building in Detroit on June 4th. What will that event entail, and how can people join in if they'd like to?
So that event's really special to us because that is actually a Girl Scout event. We, together with Southeast Michigan Girl Scouts, have brought back the Girl Scout beekeeping patch. And so this is a opportunity, especially for Girl Scouts, to earn that patch by first going to an educational session with me or any other bee organization. Then they actually do a live hive tour where they would go inside of the hives. We suit them up. We have the suits for them. They get to experience that. And then the third part of that is they then do a project that helps further the mission of the importance of our pollinators, and they can earn that patch. But we also have some hive tours coming up at some of our hives at West Bloomfield. We'll be adding them here at Lakes for the Lavender Festival. We're going to be doing some honey sampling, and we're very excited that this summer we have an intern coming in from Argentina. And they're a bee company from Argentina that we're going to do a little swap of businesses. And during that month of June that we do that, we are going to be doing a honey sampling, honeys from the world, where you'll get to sample different honeys from all around the world. Because I think we've talked in the past, Tyler, that every hive, every location, the honey tastes different because the bees are going to different sources. So the honey from here at Lakes may have more of a fruity, obviously, flavor, unlike some of the hives in Detroit that have more of a wildflower flavor. So that will be a lot of fun.
We're joined by Brian Peterson, founder of Bees in the D, joining us on the Oakland County MegaCast. You also have other bee events that can pop up through the year, or other organizations or schools or individuals that would like to hold a bee event and learn more with Bees in the D. For those that would like a bee event at their place of work, their school, their organization, what can they do in order to make that happen in partnership with Bees in the D?
Yeah, thank you for asking that, Tyler. Actually, a lot of events coming up with libraries, too. At the Royal Oak Library, we're doing a 3-part series on that. All they have to do is email us at beesinthed.com and just let us know. And we actually have some new partners coming up, too, a few schools that we're excited about that are going to be hosting hives as well. And so it is fun for us to continue to spread that map of hives to build that Detroit Bee Highway that we talk about, that helps to create these pollinators to help keep our ecosystem and our food industry strong.
So if people want to check out the new pollinator that's about to break ground in Detroit, what's the timeline on that? When can people expect for that to be open and ready and in operation in Detroit?
Well, we're being optimistic. We are breaking ground next month, and it's probably going to be a year-long project of getting it built because it's not a huge center. And then, of course, the gardens are going to be ever evolving. So we're hoping to be able to host some events in 2023.
We're joined by Brian Peterson, founder of Bees in the D on the Oakland County Megacast. More information on their website, beesinthed.com. Brian, another minute or two before we'll have to say goodbye today. Anything else at this moment that would be important for our audience to know about the pollinator, about Bees in the D, or other interesting things happening with your organization that we haven't discussed yet today?
I think we covered a lot of it, Tyler. I always appreciate that about you bringing up a lot of the different topics we have. I do want to encourage people to keep in mind that we can be a part with helping our pollinators. I'm giving some people permission to not clean up your garden too efficiently too soon because a lot of our native bees are in that brush, possibly hibernating, or need some of that hollow tubing or sticks to lay their eggs. And so just keep that in mind when you are cleaning up your gardens. And maybe each of us can plant one extra plant, one flowering plant that will help our pollinators even more. And of course, have a water source out that helps our bees, especially throughout the summertime.
Brian, thank you so much for joining us.
It's always a pleasure, Tyler. I look forward to next time. And maybe next time we'll get in the hives. It won't be so cold.